And welcome to video 2. Wanted to use this video to help familiarize you with our application review platform. It's called Fondant, which you'll see over here on the right. When you log in, this is what your screen will look like. As well, I wanted to review our rubrics, which you'll see over here on the right-hand side. Start first with letting you know that we switched last year to reviewing applications based on our Pedrozzi Scholar characteristics. So I'll show you what that looks like. This graphic here, let me zoom in, shows our characteristics. Our applicants can also view this on our website, and then we include it in the application as well because we thought it was fair if they all knew what it is that we're looking for. So Pedrozzi Scholar characteristics. Scholar maximizes learning opportunities. Scholar participates in meaningful activities outside of the classroom. The scholar demonstrates leadership. The scholar plans for college and/or their career. The scholar exhibits self-awareness and a growth mindset. The scholar demonstrates resilience to overcoming challenges. The scholar faces barriers to education or training, and the scholarship will make a difference. And the scholar envisions themselves or has already begun helping others or paying it forward, creating a positive ripple effect in their community. So again, those are what we're looking for, and then our rubric, as you continue to scroll, will take you through each characteristic here. So starting again on number 1, a scale of 0 to 3, 0 being not evident, 1 being somewhat evident, 2 evident, and 3 significantly evident. This again is for the first characteristic, maximizes learning opportunities, and then gives you some examples here. So does not seek or create learning opportunities for 0, whereas somewhat evident student occasionally identifies and uses learning opportunities. 2 would be regularly seeks out and creates meaningful learning opportunities, whereas significantly evident, the student consistently maximizes learning opportunities. So again, reading through this rubric and kind of understanding what we're looking for, this should be a helpful tool to use. Again, as you scroll through, you'll see each of the different characteristics and a breakdown. If you find anything that may be helpful, we're still trying to fine-tune this tool, so please let me know and feel free to offer suggestions. But this should be a good starting point as you begin scoring. Over here, again, on the right-hand side, this is the application review platform. This one where it says in light gray back here with the white writing, and it says Sandbox. This is going to be the practice site where you will review sample applications. When you log in, this again is what it will look like. If you've already begun reviewing an application, it'll say continue here, so you can start one and then come back to it later. If you're beginning to haven't started one yet and you need to start one, you would click here. So to begin, that's what I'm going to do, is to go ahead and click start. And as it opens, you'll see here on the left is the evaluation form. And over here on the right is going to be the application with the responses, the application responses from the students. So let's look at the evaluation form first. Again, this applicant ID, so it'll show you the applicant's ID number, as well as their high school graduation year and their incoming class status for the upcoming school year, academic year. This is just a reminder, again, of those Pedrozzi Scholar characteristics. Again, this is redundant, just repeating those characteristics. This showing you, again, the scoring, 0 being not evident to the 3 strongly evident. And then as you go down here, you'll see this is characteristic number 1, maximizes learning opportunities. So you'll choose a numeric score once you've completed your review, but if you needed to change it, you can move it around. The Pedrozzi Scholar characteristic 1, learning opportunities, also has a text area. So it states here, if you scored a 3, please note examples, statements, phrases, words from the applicant's writing that influenced your score. For any score, feel free to reference helpful notes and reasons to support your score. Those notes are helpful to the scholarship committee when doing selection. So first thing that we learned in this new type of scoring is that it's really helpful to go through and read the application in its entirety first before you begin any kind of scoring. So just do a full read, and then you can go back and work on identifying, and or people like to go and make notes of like, okay, here was a good example of leadership. You can also, to make things a little bit more easy, copy and paste. If you find a good example of something, the copy and paste function works. If you're finding For some reason that's not working. I've heard some web browsers don't allow it, so you might want to try a different web browser, but you should be able to copy and paste those supporting examples. So again, I'll show you it's the same thing for characteristic 2. If you scored a 3, again, please note examples because we like to know how it is that you came up with that 3, but it can be helpful to list, some of the supporting evidence regardless. If you scroll through, again, that's for each characteristic. When you get down here to the bottom, Q9, this is holistic score and award recommendation. So considering Pedrozzi Scholar characteristics and the entire application, give your holistic score and award recommendation, where 0 is no, the applicant has not demonstrated they should be considered for a scholarship at this time. 1, maybe, the applicant may be considered for a scholarship if funding allows, whereas 2 is yes, the applicant should be considered for a scholarship, and 3 is strong yes, the applicant should be awarded a scholarship. And then Q10 relates back to Q9 here. So if you scored a 0 or a 1 above on Q9, please explain why you feel this applicant should not be awarded a scholarship. So just kind of, we want to understand the thinking behind the 0 and the 1, so feel free to add notes there. And then special consideration, if there are factors that should be considered when evaluating this application for final review by the scholarship committee, please state why here. And this can be a really great area to lift anything that stood out to you or anything that you think would be helpful for the scholarship committee to consider when they start doing those awards and denials. That would be great if you can list some stuff here. They do look at those notes when they're going through and doing those awards after the reviews are complete. And then here, the bottom one is recusal. This is optional, but again, if you find that you might know somebody based on the information they provided within their application, and or if you find something, where you might not be able to be impartial. Let's say it was somebody who wants to become a teacher and you were a teacher, or somebody who, plans to work at the lab or had an internship at the lab and you worked at the lab. It's just safest to go ahead and recuse yourself here. So next, I'd like to familiarize a little bit with the application. I want you to understand what it is that we're asking the applicants. So question 1, describe a personally significant experience in your life. How did you respond and what did you learn about yourself as a result? Question 2, as you consider the next 5 years, what do you aspire to accomplish and what are your plans for doing so? Question 3, Mario Pedrozzi left his estate to establish the Pedrozzi Foundation with the vision of helping students of all ages achieve their educational and career goals. Read about Mario Pedrozzi's life and the values and objectives of the Pedrozzi Foundation. Reflecting on what you've read and your own background, experiences, and values, what aspects of Mario's life and or the Foundation's goals resonates with you. So these are actually links that the students can go, and we're asking them to do some reading and then to come back and again reflect and respond here to question 3. And then we move on to activities, interests, and responsibilities. Ask the applicants to identify 3 activities, interests, or responsibilities they've participated in outside of the classroom in the last 4 years and their roles in each. And we ask them to not include activities, interests, or responsibilities in which they received school credit, and give some examples of that. They are allowed to include this in the final essay response, which we'll look at in a minute, but we ask them not to include it here in the activities. We also let them know that activities, interests, or responsibilities should be meaningful to the student, can include significant family responsibilities, such as taking care of family members or contributing to family income, jobs, internships, school or community clubs, those are allowed. Volunteer activities, music or performing arts, sports within and outside of school, hobbies, and faith-based activities. Again, those are all good examples of activities that the students can share with us. So activity interest number 1, provide details of your activity interest, including any personal accomplishments and what you learned or gained from participating. And then we ask them to share how many hours per week, how many weeks per year, and how many years they participated. So again, we do that for 3 different activities. And then the final question is the last impression. As the final question in the Getting to Know You section, what do you want the application reviewers to know about you that's not already reflected in the scholarship application? Last impression is a space to be self-reflective while giving the application reviewers context and insight into your life in an open-ended format. Suggested topics may include, but are not limited to, these questions. What makes you unique? What makes you proud to be you? What would someone who knows you well want to tell us? What are your passions and interests? It might feel like bragging, but we want to hear all about you. And then we note this is an area where you can share about all activities, even if they're school related. For example, ROP, Green Engineering Academy, and so on. So again, that's the final essay prompt. Wanted to also point out, sometimes when you open these, you might see that the response area looks really small. You might not be able to see the full response. So wanted to point out that you can drag and make this more visible if you cannot see the full answer. It's a little more comfortable to read that way. And wanted to also point out that characteristic number, 7, this faces barriers to education or training, and the scholarship will make a difference. This is something that we look at because we have an impact category that we look at first for students with demonstrated financial need, first generation college students, and so on. So this area we evaluate and factor into our making an impact category. So we kind of look at that pool of students first. But wanted to let you know that scoring somebody a 0 if they have not demonstrated that someone has faced barriers to education or training, if they've not demonstrated that within their application, they're not going to be penalized for that in their overall score. So giving a 0 here is not going to penalize somebody. So we just want you to know that. But it is helpful if somebody has demonstrated it, because we flag it and look at that group of students a little bit differently when we're doing all of our other making an impact choices. So again, just wanted you to know it's okay if somebody has a 0 in the faces barriers category. It will not negatively affect their overall score. I think that covers it. If you have questions once you get going on this, looking at the rubrics, trying to move through this platform, any questions at all about the, reviewing our process, I am available. So please reach out. We can converse via email. I'd also be happy to schedule a in-person or virtual meeting. Just let me know. I'm available to try and make sure that this is a smooth learning process for you. So let me know if you have any questions, and I look forward to seeing you in January.